Hey guys, der Leichte Bäcker here, and today's video will be in English again. And today we are gonna do a whole grain rye mixed bread. And here's all you're gonna need for it. A wire rack to let the bread cool down on, a bowl to let the dough rise in, a scale, a cloth to cover the dough, a sharp knife to cut the dough, a brewing basket, a mixing bowl, strong bread flour, salt, rye flour, a wooden spoon, wholemeal flour, a pyrex dish to create steam in the oven, a dough scraper, whole grain rye flour, a baking tray, yeast, water, an oven of course, and a mixer. Although you could also knead it by hand, then you could save the trip to the gym. Let's get started. The evening before we want to make the bread, we make the Poolish. Therefore we take 180 grams of whole grain rye flour, 4 grams of fresh yeast, and 200 milliliter of water. Now we mix it all together and our Poolish is done. By the way, it's said that the name Poolish comes from a Polish person who invented the Poolish. And the Poolish helps us to give the bread a better crust, flavor and structure. Yet when the Poolish is finished, we cover it up and we can put it in the fridge and leave it overnight to rest. See you tomorrow! At the next morning we take the Poolish out of the fridge and take a look at this. There's already a lot of activity in this Poolish. It looks really good. Let's keep cracking with the main dough. At first we take 300 grams of strong bread flour. Then we take 100 grams of rye flour and after that 120 grams of whole grain wheat flour. Now we take 19 grams of salt, which is 3%. 440 milliliters of water, which represents together with the Poolish a hydration of 90%, then 23 grams of fresh yeast. If you use dried yeast, just use one pack, like 7 grams. And don't get too hung up with fresh versus dry, just take the one you have available. And of course not to forget our Poolish. Now we can knead everything together for around 10 minutes till we have a nice firm dough. What I'm shortcutting here with a little bit of editing magic. And now we can cover the dough and let it rest for the next 2 hours. Two hours later, let's take a look at how nice, active and bubbly our dough is now. Everywhere you can see smaller and bigger bubbles. This is really what we want to see in a dough. With this fermentation we know we will have a good tasting bread in the end. I can't wait to have this bread baked. Let's give it a nice shape. For that we flour the table and we dump the dough on it. And then we also flour the dough. Now we knock the dough back by stretching and folding. For that we take the dough on one side, stretch it and fold it over into the middle. And we repeat this for all 4 sides. And then we bring the dough in a nice round shape. Now we can flour our brewing basket. And we should use a nice generous amount of flour. So go for 2 or even 3 rounds of flour. Because we don't want that our dough will stick on the brewing basket. That would be one of the worst scenarios that could happen. And after that is done, we take the dough and put it in the brewing basket upside down. And again we put a generous amount of flour over the dough, so it's less likely that the dough will stick. And if you don't have a brewing basket, you could also just use a normal bowl. We just need something to support the dough proving up. Now we cover the dough and let it rest. Meanwhile we make the oven ready. We put it on maximum heat, 275 degrees Celsius, at top and bottom heat. I also put a pyrex dish filled with water in the oven to create some nice steam. And we need the steam here to improve the rising of the dough later. Almost 1.5 hours later, I flour the baking tray, but you could also use baking paper like I already did in other videos. And now take a look at this nice dough, how beautifully it has been risen. Now we can dump the dough on the tray. So we quickly flip the brewing basket around and the dough just drops right out thanks to the amount of flour we put on the brewing basket. And as you can see, while I'm scoring the bread, the dough runs away because of the high hydration level it has. But A high hydration level means a very good taste. And now it's time to put the dough in the oven at 275 degrees Celsius for 25 minutes. And then we come back and lower the heat. Enjoy the oven cinema! 25 minutes later we lower the heat to 230 degrees Celsius and we also take the pyrex dish out, which we use to create steam in the oven. Now the bread keeps baking for another 35 minutes and then it's done. See you then! "35 minutes later, I'm confident the bread is fully baked, so let's turn the oven off and take the bread out. It actually smells now in my apartment like I would have roasted coffee in here. And look at this nice dark color. It's a strong roasting of the bread. It gives it a lot of flavor and a nice strong crust. And in this crust is a lot of this good flavor. Let's do quickly the knock test. And this bread sounds so hollow. Job well done. After letting the bread cool down for a little bit, we can cut it open. And you can hear how good this bread sounds. A real dark German bread with a nice strong crust and a lot of flavor. Look at that graining and look at that crust. It looks so delicious. I can't wait to have a bite of it. And it jumps right back after we squeezed it strongly together. Try this with a toast from a supermarket and you will know what good quality bread is. And that's why we are baking our own bread, right? And listen again to this crust. So good. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you're not subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button. A lot more cool content will come up in future. And I will produce English videos on a regular basis, so stay tuned.